I'm not gonna worry about it, I couldn't get to it this morning.
Yeah, I don't think the record's closed yet, so you should have some more time. Because, we're gonna be going through the whole process today, isn't that right?
That's what I understand.
So the ordinance needs to go to other business, because it does require a first and a second reading.
Yeah.
So make it,
You guys make a decision.
why don't you make it number 2 under other business?
It just, I don't know, I'm just gonna hit me sideways.
Yeah, this is the first, it hasn't closed already. In fact,
Before you
Right.
make
Well, there you go, okay.
hearing section.
I just wasn't in my
Okay,
right
so we'll
mind yet.
remove, the order has changed in the public hearing on the dockets under A, and this ordinance has been moved to O.
I've had more stuff since, and I love
Correct.
having Carrie's little girl.
Yes.
We have her on Mondays and Fridays, and she
So
doesn't take
the order has changed.
the rest of the week,
Public hearing,
and she's
dockets are
hauling stuff in.
switched.
And then she always, when she leaves, she always wants to kiss me. And I try to dodge it, and I'm moving and she's moving. Like, okay, give her to me, baby. How old? She'll be 3 in about a month.
Well, and it is, and then the daycare, and we get it with the kids in school.
Oh,
Here at the end.
it's a petri dish. Just a little walking petri dish.
I'll be your timekeeper today.
Oh, Chuck's not here?
I'll be your timekeeper.
Okay, thank you very much. You guys. Okay,
Just for the public comment time. I won't keep time during your public hearing.
sure, okay.
And that's why I said generally, leave it open for a week or only if someone asks for it. Oh, this is that young lady?
Hmm?
That's exactly
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah?
Do you mind if I don't say?
Yes, I've got that. We're gonna move it off. It's going to D2. It's going to D2. Okay,
Okay.
so we'll do
If you want, I can say something,
you'll do a first reading? Or do you,
or second reading, yeah.
okay,
Caption only.
title only, right, what are you calling it? Title only, okay. And then, do we vote on it?
Is this the one from this morning?
Yeah, I got that.
Okay. Thank you.
Read it thoroughly.
She marked which public hearing the green ones were for, and then these are the regular public comment.
So, okay, but now as far as the comments for each one, where are they coming in?
The order,
Yeah, see, that'll be on the consent.
order of the public
Right.
hearing, whether they're an
Okay.
opponent or a proponent, they've checked the box.
Well, we just realized that
So,
we
but
have to put
for
this
each,
off.
she's marked which public hearing, so then you have to determine if they're opposed or support, and
You'll handle that.
follow the order.
Five, 47, hold on, let me make sure 47's going first. 47's first, so it's 47. All right, you all set? I guess so. All right. Yeah, correct. This time, we'll open the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners formal session on March 10th, 2016. And before we move forward, I just want to make a couple of notes that we are going to change the order of the public hearing. The docket order has been switched, And we're also going to remove item number 5 from the consent agenda and move it into other business. May we have, Desiree, would you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here. At this time, we have a public comment period. This is a 30-minute time period reserved for public comment on any topic other than a quasi-judicial land use matter or other topic scheduled for public hearing. Unless extended or restricted by the chair or a majority of the board, the comment period will be limited to 3 minutes per person. And we have a number of people here for that. The first person joining us is Nick Morant. Nick, would you come up and state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Nicholas Patrick Moran. What was the other question?
Your address?
My address? P.O. Box 871, Willamina, Oregon, and 7535 Sawtell Road, Sheridan, Oregon.
Thank you.
So thanks for having me here. I'm an Oregon licensed, bonded, and insured general contractor, and I have over 15 years of experience in areas related to trail building and volunteer coordination. I'm here today as a community organizer, a property rights advocate, and a trail builder. I was invited to the Oregon Farm Bureau meeting this Tuesday, and every single farmer and Farm Bureau member that was present was seriously concerned with the Yamhill West Side Trail project.
Nick, can you speak up?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Over half of those present were there specifically to discuss the trail. I have a list of 15 people that were present who have serious concerns regarding the trail. They have all signed this. There are around 285 landowners along the 17-mile stretch of proposed trail. How many landowners have been invited and present at meetings during the course of the planning process? At the last planning meeting in Gaston, I believe there were 4 landowners total at the meeting, all of whom own land along the trail within the urban growth boundary. It's my understanding that at the other towns' trail planning meetings, the landowners present were also predominantly urban growth boundary landowners. That begs the question, why aren't the hundreds of landowners outside the urban growth boundary participating in the planning? Why would someone who is about to have a public walking, biking, and equestrian trail through their property not want to have a say in the planning and design process? Maybe it's because they aren't aware of the trail planning process, or maybe they aren't even aware of the trail project. All but one of the landowners and farmers I have spoken with have told me that they've never received notice for upcoming trail meetings. One couple opposed to the trail, who are landowners along the proposed trail, are in the process of closing on the sale of their home and moving because of the trail and because of the county's response to their concerns. Like others, their concerns have been blown off. This trail has serious issues that need to be addressed. I suggest the county and commissioners freeze spending now on the Yamhill West Side Trail and immediately begin the process of notifying landowners and farmers along the proposed trail and invite them to participate in the public hearing. Otherwise, you'll be hearing from the public. I want to build trails that have the support of abutting landowners. This trail project certainly does not have that. We elected you as a property rights advocate and for your fiscal conservatism. Do your job. Moving forward, I'd like to start working with the county immediately on community outreach to the landowners and farmers along the entire stretch of the Yamhill Trail. I'd like to volunteer for the county as a community outreach partner today, and in doing so, I will begin focusing my energies on working with the county and its commissioners rather than organizing an opposition to the trail. My primary motivation is to preserve private property rights by making sure the trail planning process is transparent and where every landowner along the trail is aware of the trail and invited to speak at a public hearing on an evening before the May 2nd Budget Committee public hearing, if possible. I've recently been reappointed as chair of the Grievances Committee for the Yamhill County Republican Party. Our first order of business is to conduct an investigation into the Yamhill West Side Trail and related property rights and farmers' rights issues.
Time, Commissioner.
Do you have a representative for the county attending next week's Oregon Bicycle Tourism Summit? If not, I'm going. I'd be happy to act in liaison with the county as a networker and volunteer trail builder.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Piper Sweeney?
Morning, Commissioners. Thank you for your time this morning. I wanted to talk on two subjects. One will be very quick, and actually both of them pretty quick. So on the Rails to Trails program, farmers have so many challenges. You know, we're battling timing with the weather, with rain. I'm very concerned that if we've got public, you know, a public park, something that allows the public to be on the property of farmers. We don't have railroad running through our property, so it's not going to affect us. But it's not a matter of not in my backyard. It's not good unless the people who it will be in their backyard have agreed that this is what they can live with. This is what, you know, can help them. You know, even things like the Department of Justice and what they did with the blueberry growers, where they went onto the property and then they were proven in court that they did it illegally, and they stopped the farmer from being able to ship his goods. So, you know, this just allows a whole area that people can be there to observe and decide what tactics, if you've got an activist community or you've got a governmental agency that maybe they don't have a search warrant yet, they don't have a reason to be on your property, this gives them easy access to it, and I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about liability for attractive nuisance issues. An old barn could be an attractive nuisance, an antique tractor. And all these things then put the farmer in a place of being liable for someone getting hurt on their property or equipment or whatever. It's it really is an issue. And finally, I think that, or what I'm hoping for, is that you'll really look into the consequences of this. It sounds like a great idea. I think, in fact, if the property owners agree and know what they're getting into, it will be. But anyway, I'm just hoping that you'll really consider what the cost will be to the landowners around that. And then I have something which I think I may have to email, and I'm wondering if I might be able to email it to you, but it's on some of the considerations that DLCD has laid out that have to be considered when you're dealing with a public park.
Yeah, go ahead and email that to all of us.
And you could get copies. I apologize for not having that done.
That's fine, okay.
And so that's my testimony on that. Now, can I have just 1 minute on one other subject? I did put it on my card.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, that is the Palmer Creek Bridge. Our farm is located near the Palmer Creek Bridge, and the alternative route to get large trucks and cars into McMinnville from Wallace Road is very dangerous. There's at least 3 blind curves on that road. Now, I've been told that we don't have the money to fix that bridge, so we're considering just leaving it as it is. Well, that's a huge safety issue. We've got small cars traveling with these large farm trucks going around these blind corners over other bridges, which when they're overused, they also may get to a place where they have to be replaced. So I really am hoping that you guys will look once again at what route, maybe drive it yourselves if you have time, what route that takes. And what that route looks like for the safety of the citizens of Yamhill County, trying to get to McMinnville from Wallace Road. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Piper.
Thank you.
Scott Bernards. Could you state your name and your address for the record, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Scott Bernards, Carlton, 9275 Northwest Lakeside Drive, Carlton, Oregon. And my concerns are with the trails, I guess. And actually, I have 2 property owners. I'm not specifically a property owner, but I farm right next to it with 2 different property owners, Frank and Patty Burns of Carlton and Betty Webb of Carlton. And they both, I've talked to both of them about this, and my concerns are, chemicals, dust, like we're spraying along that, and drift happens to, odor, different things like that, and I can't even see because it's pretty brushed in. I'm not sure what their plans are to be able, see, so I actually don't know which way would be better, if they cleared the brush or they didn't clear the brush. So then if they are clearing the brush, who is going to be responsible for that, and when they are spraying blackberries, and we have, certainly very sensitive crops, we're all aware of, the grapes in the neighborhood that we're usually blamed for. But then the state and the county, do a lot of spraying as well. So is it the county that's going to be spraying? Is it the state that's going to be spraying? So are they going to, my clover crops are, sensitive crops that'll be damaged by phenoxy spraying as well. Or maybe drift to a vineyard then that I'm blamed for. And that's happening every spring out there now, and we've all read the papers, and a lot of times, the ODA tries to figure out who did it. They blame, the farmer a lot of times against the grapes, and it's truly then not us, where it may be the county or the state or even themselves. So there's a lot of concerns there for me as well. The other thing with Frank and Patty, their property runs along out to the Carlton Game Refuge, and so then they see the Carlton Game Refuge on the property, and they're trying to figure out how they can get access to the game refuge, and there is not one. But people are, they have a lot of problems with people riding horses through their property and without permission, and just going to be that many more concerns and public out there potentially creating problems. And one other, thing that I guess I have a concern with, I'm also a volunteer fireman, and access to the trail if we get fires going for access for fire departments or equipment. We don't have the equipment that can access down the trail and different things like that. So I don't know if they've been working with municipalities or the fire departments, Yamhill or Carlton, to potentially gives, access issues and things like that. So those are my concerns. Definitely have some concerns. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bernards. Lester Sitton. Could you state your name and address for the record, please?
Good morning. My name is Lester Sitton. I live at 8075 Northwest Poverty Bend Road. Our family farm, and we own property on actually both sides of what would be the trail over towards the gun club, between gun club and Picola Road. I guess there's several concerns that we would have. It's fairly open between on either side of the right of way there where we're at. I don't know if they're thinking about putting a fence of some sort in, or what they're going to do to try to contain people. Because if there's no barrier, you're going to have people wandering out through the fields, causing issues. You're going to have fire hazard in the summertime. Everything gets pretty dry, and as mentioned before, certain times of the year you're out there spraying and doing things, and that's going to be pretty tough when you're right up next to people walking around, and makes life pretty difficult trying to figure out the best way to go about doing things with that. I guess also, you're going to have dust in the summertime quite a little bit. Where we're on both sides of the right-of-way there, you're going to have blowing across one way or the other, no matter what you're doing, because the dust is either going to go one way or the other, and so that's going to be an issue all along the trail. I mean, anything next to the farm ground. So they're going to, try and tell you when you can farm, or what I'm not sure what their plan is there. So anyway, those are just some of our issues that we have right off the top anyway. So.
Thank you, Mr. Sitton. Appreciate it. Jim Van Dyke.
Well, I get to sit in the hot seat.
Would you give us your name and address for the record, please?
Jim Van Dyke. I live a mile west of Yamhill. My PO is 400 Yamhill. Anyway, I'm a farmer. I've farmed in the area my whole life, and I guess I keep seeing in the paper. I've been visiting about this with you as well as other people about our concerns as a farmer in the area. Looks like they're bringing a lot of people from the city that don't understand their way of life with what's been already talked about: dust, spray, smell, everything.
And I guess I'm just, everything I see in the paper and stuff is there's no opposition. That's why I'm here today. I think there's a lot of opposition. A lot of people don't have time. Straples couldn't make this meeting today. With the same issues. One issue we deal with all the time, people come onto our property, they go through our sensitive crops with horses, four-wheelers, walking. They go through our crops, they don't realize they're hurting our crops. And I think you're just opening a can of worms there. I don't know if you will fence our fields, fence the thing to keep, Lee Schrapel says the other day they were out doing their survey of the tracks, and he says they've already been on his property. He says he went out there to see what the guy was doing. Well, they're studying it. They're on his property right there. They haven't even got started yet. So this is a big concern with us. If we can figure something out, great. But I guess I think we're just opening a real can of worms here. Just don't let us fall into deaf ears.
Righty.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van Dyke. Steve Dumdy.
Thank you. It's Steve Dumdy.
Sorry, Dumdy.
I have concerns and questions. My first concern is who's going to have the responsibility of the garbage? Is it going to be picked up once a week, twice a week, once a month, or once a year? And don't tell me there won't be garbage out there. Look at our county highways. You know, that's something that needs to be, because after a while you leave that, paper bags go out in the farmers' fields, and then they get in the combine and whatever, and you know, then it's a mess. The next one is, and it's been brought up by Scott and Lester and Jim, the consequences of spraying fields next to it. Pretty soon you're going to have somebody walking along and say, oh, I got oversprayed. So they'll call the State Department of Agriculture. Then eventually they'll say, well, you can't spray with 1,000 yards of the trail. Give you an example. I used to run cattle on the Laughlin place. We putting pasture fertilizer on. The neighbor called the State Department. Says, Steve's probably putting chemicals on. Well, all I was doing is, you know, putting fertilizer on a pasture. They didn't call me. They started calling the state. This is what happens. You know, these things need to be addressed. And, you know, everybody along the trailway needs answers. I'm not for it or not against it, but I need answers. You know, something hasn't been brought up. There's livestock along the trail. Are these people, you know, a lot of people have dogs and they're walking the trails or running the trails or on their bicycle. Are they going to have leashes on their dogs? I've had plenty of examples of problems being in the cattle business with dogs getting in my cattle and sheep, tearing through the fences. And there's going to be a lawsuit there. Who's going to be responsible? The person with the dog, he's going to be gone. Is there going to be restrooms set up along the trail? I haven't heard. I don't have any idea. But that can be a problem. I have a good friends that live between Yamhill and Carlton, and you could throw a stone to their house. They're an elderly couple. They're really scared and nervous what's going to happen if this trail goes through. How are they going to be protected? That's a legitimate question. Anyway, I appreciate your time and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dumdy. Sorry. All right, we have no more. At this time, entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I would so moved.
All right, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
With the exception of item 5, which you mentioned was moved to
Other business.
Other business.
All right. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as written?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Old business, we have none. Other business, we have the item D1, consideration of approval of a notice of intent to award the Yamhill County 2015 overlay project to Baker Rock Resources. Total base plus alternate bid of $1,672,730.10.
Yeah, Madam Chair, that's actually the 2016. Sorry, that's a
2016?
Right.
Okay. Do we have a motion to consider the approval?
I would so move with the correction to 2016 being noted in the minutes.
All right, we have a motion to approve item D1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Item D2 is the ordinance to approve Ordinance 897 in the matter of creating a governmental entity by intergovernmental agreement known as the Oregon Association of County Engineers and Surveyors, or OASIS, and declaring an emergency. So can we have the first reading by title only, please, Christian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hearing no objection from the board, this will be the first reading of Ordinance 897 by title only. Hearing no objections, Ordinance 897, in the matter of an ordinance creating a governmental entity by intergovernmental agreement known as the Oregon Association of County Engineers and Surveyors, or OASIS, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to approve item D2?
So moved.
All right. Motion to approve item D2. All those in favor say aye.
Madam Chair, we would need to have the second reading before you had your vote, if
Oh,
there was any discussion.
correct. We have the second reading by title only, please.
Hearing no objection from the board, second reading of Ordinance 897 by title only, in the matter of an ordinance creating a governmental entity by intergovernmental agreement known as the Oregon Association of County Engineers and Surveyors, or OASIS, and declaring an emergency.
Right.
Madam Chair.
All right. Any further discussion?
My motion still stands.
Okay. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. At this time, we will open the public hearing, and we'll start with docket L47-15, which is an appeal by DLCD of a lot line adjustment involving a lot approved through Measure 49, and the applicant is Michael Hintermeyer. Do we have any abstentions from the board?
None.
Any objections to jurisdiction? Okay. We have a reading of the statement required by ORS 197.7635. Mr. Sadlow?
Yes. Oregon law requires that persons who attend a land use hearing be advised of certain rights and duties before the hearing begins. We must tell you about the approval criteria, the raise it or waive it rule. First, the approval criteria. The law requires the county to list the applicable county and state zoning criteria. A county planner will do so in a few minutes. The law requires us to identify those standards that the applicant must satisfy in order for the county to approve an application. Each of the standards must be supported by substantial evidence in the record. So we would ask that you please direct your testimony, claims, or evidence toward the criteria stated by the planner or any other criteria that you believe applies to the application. Second, the raise it or waive it rule. The law says that any issue that might be raised in an appeal of the decision after this hearing must be raised before the record of this hearing is closed. If you do not raise the issue before the record is closed, you cannot raise the issue on appeal. Failure to raise constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval, if there are any, with sufficient specificity to allow the county to respond, precludes an action for damages in circuit court. You must identify the issue clearly enough so that the county and all parties have an opportunity to respond to the issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sadlow. We have a staff report at this time.
Yes, the subject tract is 80 acres and it has a partition approval to divide the property into lots of 2 and 78 acres. The applicant is requesting a property line adjustment which would result in 2 40-acre parcels. The property has access to Ford Road. The parcel is zoned 80 agricultural forestry and contains a mixture of farm and forestry use, with the forested area being predominantly on the south end of the property. The farm use is pasture. The area to the north, south, and east is zone F80, commercial forestry. Land to the west is zone AF80. Property to the northeast and across the road is zone EF80, exclusive farm use. The soils are detailed in the staff report, and while the property is not high-value farmland, it does qualify under the Measure 49 definition of high-value forest land. The Measure 37 claim is also detailed in the staff report. The Measure 37 claim was modified to a Measure 49 claim, and near the middle of page 5 of the final order and home site authorization on the Measure 49 approval, it states, the claimants are authorized for one additional lot or parcel and one additional dwelling on the property on which the claimant is eligible for a Measure 49 relief. The applicant applied for a Measure 49 partition through docket P-18-15, and the request was to partition the 80 acres into residential parcels of 2 and 78 acres. That request was approved December 15th, 2015, and was not appealed. The subject lot line adjustment was approved December 18th, 2015, and an email notice of appeal was received from DLCD on December 30th, 2015, and then payment was received of the appeal on January 4th, 2016. I do want to note that House Bill 2831 was signed by the governor on June 16th and became effective on January 1st, 2016. House Bill 2831 amended the lot line adjustment statutes of ORS 92.192, and among other things, it prohibits adjustments of Measure 49 lots beyond their 2 and 5 acre limits. As of January 1st, 2016, our office is enforcing this provision. However, this application was made and approved prior to this date. The request is subject to Section 403.11B2 of the Yamhill County Zoning Ordinance and the Yamhill County Land Division Ordinance and ORS 92.192. That ends this portion of the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have testimony in the proponent's case? That would be Sid Friedman.
Well, the proponent is.
Proponent, okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
Dave Honeycutt.
Or- Is this the one that you previously submitted?
Yes.
Okay. We've got that, I believe, but.
Yeah, we do. Isn't this the one we had? Yeah.
We have that?
You already got it?
I've got it, thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the Commission, Dave Honeycutt, Oregon Indians in Action, P.O. Box 230637, Tiger 97281. Sitting next to me is Mike Hintermeyer, who's the property owner and the applicant in this case. Before we get any further into the case, I would ask, I was hoping not to have to do this, but I'll ask to keep the record open until I'm hoping to keep that the commission will grant an extension till the 21st, which is, I believe, is a week from the following Monday. To keep the record open, there were a couple of letters that were submitted late in the process that I'd like to respond to. So, again, I apologize for doing that, but unfortunately, there are a couple issues that we need to respond to that we didn't have time to do. Let me, before we get delve into the weeds of Oregon land use law, let me tell you what we're not talking about with this application. We're not talking about the creation of a new parcel. As Mr. Friday said, the partition application to create the two parcels pursuant to the Measure 49 waiver that Mr. Hintermeyer received was submitted and approved in December and not appealed. So we're not here on the partition application. We have two parcels on this property, a 78-acre parcel and a 2-acre parcel. We're not talking about the creation of a new dwelling. The dwelling approvals pursuant to the Measure 49 approval authorize one new dwelling. There's a dwelling on the property already. There'll be a new dwelling on the property, whether this case is approved or denied. The question it will be whether the new dwelling is on a 2-acre parcel or a 40-acre parcel. And we're not talking, and this is, I think, key, we're not talking about a precedent-setting case. As Mr. Friday mentioned, the legislature in 2015 adopted House Bill 2831. House Bill 2831 no longer allows the county to approve a lot line adjustment of a Measure 49 created parcel. So if we were to bring this application today and ask to expand the 2-acre parcel and bring it up to 40, and conversely shrink the 78-acre parcel down to 40, the county staff would issue a denial because that's what the law says. We, however, the new law, although it was passed by the 2015 legislature, did not take effect till January 1 of 2016. My client and the next case that you'll hear about, the Jansen case, submitted their applications prior to the effective date of the law, and under what's known as the goalpost rule, it's ORS 215-427 subsection 3. The rules in effect on the day that you submit your application are the rules that guide the application, even if the law changes at some point between the time you submitted your application and the time it's resolved. So based on the law in effect at the time Mr. Hintermeyer submitted his application, we had the older version of 92-192 and not the new version that was amended as a result of 2831. The significance of that from a policy perspective, this case would be interesting and significant from a statewide perspective had the legislature not changed the law, because we would have a real question about whether or not Measure 49 authorizes, or whether 92-192 authorizes a county to approve a lot line adjustment to a Measure 49 created parcel. Because of the change in the law, this case really impacts my client and in the following case, the Jansens. I believe there are a couple in Polk County, and beyond that, this case doesn't affect anybody. So we have, what's frustrating for us is we have the weight of a state agency being brought to bear on this guy, a couple of elderly Yamhill County property owners in the back, and maybe a couple down in Polk County, for a decision that impacts them only and will never happen again. Staff and the county cannot approve a lot line adjustment that we're of the type we're seeking ever again, at least until the law is changed. And so I will certainly be having a discussion at the legislature over whether or not this is a wise use of agency resources to come in and pick on a couple of Yamhill County property owners. Having said that, what we are talking about here, as I made clear, I think I made clear, is a lot line adjustment to take a 2-acre parcel and a 78-acre parcel and change them so you have 2 40-acre parcels. The property surrounding Mr. Hintermeyer's property is properties of 40 acres in size. There's a couple of 20s and a larger one to the north, I believe, and Mike can correct me if I got my directions wrong. So what he's trying to do is change a 78 and a 2 to 2 40s to conform with exactly what's going on the properties surrounding him. That brings the issue of whether or not the law prior to the amendment of 92-192 with House Bill 2831 last year, whether the law in that case allowed, or at that time, allowed a county to take a Measure 49 parcel and do a lot line adjustment. And that raises a interesting discussion between the provisions of Measure 49, specifically Section 11, sub a piece of legislation from the 2007 legislature in response to ballot measure 37, The legislature, the '07 legislature decided that they would amend Measure 37 and send it back out to the voters. So they did that and sent it out to the voters, and it became Measure 49. One of the provisions of Measure 49, it's in Section 11, subsection 3A, deals with the size of the parcels that are created as a result of a Measure 49 waiver. If you recall back in when we were talking about Measure 49 and for a couple of years after Measure 49 passed, property owners who had Measure 37 claims were entitled to change their Measure 37 claim by submitting for relief to DLCD, the state agency, submitting for relief and abandoning their Measure 37 claim and requesting a waiver under Measure 49. And under Measure 49, there were a variety of options. The fast track option is what most people took, and that authorized, including Mr. Hintermeyer, and that authorized the creation of up to 3 dwellings, 3 new lots and 3 dwellings, depending on the development on your property and what you could have done at the time you bought it. As Mr. Friday indicated, Mr. Hintermeyer converted his Measure 37 claim to a Measure 49 claim, took the fast track option, and received